We're in the middle of Australia exploring our nation's hot, red and stunningly beautiful centre. We explore one of the most remote and amazing deserts in the country, find the geographical centre of Australia and feel the presence of an underrated Aussie icon. So we've got the next couple of days to see everything the Red Centre has to offer. So sit down, grab a cup of tea, and by the end of this, you'll be planning your own trip out here. We last left you leaving Oodnadatta, the hottest town in the country, with our sights set for Coober Pedy, another awfully hot place where people live underground to avoid the mind-numbing heat. But on our way, we decided to make a small detour. So in the end, we decided to come out of the Painted Hills. It's pretty spectacular. This is very grand. But yeah, we're going to walk up to the top of that hill over there, supposedly about 1 kilometre, and see what it looks like from there. 80 million years ago, this desert was covered by an inland sea that left layers and layers of sediment. They reveal themselves today with these beautiful reds, whites and yellows. Despite being a desert, there's a surprising amount of life here. Well, we made it to the top, and it's pretty amazing. It's just an expanse. Beautiful colours in the middle of nowhere. I'm glad we stopped in. I'm glad we made the journey. We then checked out some sites in Coober Pedy, settled in for the night, and got out of there as fast as possible the next morning. I'm only half joking. Coober Pedy is an awesome but strange place. And after only a few hours, I'd already misplaced some of my marbles.
In the Northern Territory, max speed 110.
Otherwise, they had signed otherwise. So we headed north for the Territory and got to enjoy the futile challenge of getting to the 130 speed limit in a 3-litre patrol.
Can we do it?
That was enough fun to keep us occupied for the few hours it took to reach the literal Red Centre. That flag and monument right behind us marks the geographical centre of the Australian mainland. The Royal Geographical Society of Australia calculated the location of this spot in 1988 and named it after Dr. Bruce Lambert, one of the nation's top cartographers. They used 24,500 high watermark points to measure the country's coastline and then used a bit of mathematics to work out the area of the funny shape that is Australia, and their calculations gave them this exact spot. 10 kilometres away from Dr. Cecil Madigan's centre point, which he worked out 50 years earlier by finding the balancing point of a medal cut out of the country.
Despite Lambert's centre being the literal red centre of the country, it's not really one of the places you first think of. A bit further north is a loop called the Red Centre Way, and it has all of the spectacular geological structures that come to mind when you picture the middle of Australia.
Well, our second stop in our tour of the Red Centre is pretty amazing. This is the classic view, and it's easy to see how it's become so iconic. So Uluru is a sacred site for the Anungu people, and when you're here you can just tell why. It feels spiritual. It's so immensely large in this landscape of plains and flatness that it's just incredible. The scale of it can't be judged. You just have to come here. You have to experience it. It's amazing.
Not too far from Uluru is Katajuta, which you might also know as the Olgas. In fact, it's so not far from Uluru that you can see Uluru just over there. We're about to enter the Walpa Gorge within the Katajuta National Park. The Walpa Gorge is an extremely important place because water pools and allows all sorts of animals and plants that can't survive elsewhere to live. It's pretty immense. Like, there's some really big walls on either side of you. And to think that all of this formed naturally, it's just awesome. Like, all of it is awesome, and how green it is, and you're in the centre of Australia and it's just so green and lush and there's so much life around you. It's stunning. We made it to the end of the walk, and I must say I am extremely impressed by the sheer size of it, the greenery, the water, and also apparently hill kangaroos live in these tiny caves in the walls, which is awesome. With the sun almost set, it's time to head back the way we came. I don't want to miss out on seeing Uluru at sunset. But first, I've made Zave pull over on the side of the road because I saw such a great example of these two trees. These are desert oaks, except this one is juvenile and this one is mature, but they look really, really different. And the reason for that is that when they're juvenile, they have downwards pointing leaves to direct all the water into the roots until they can grow big enough to reach the water table. And then once they have their own water supply, the leaves can start sprouting outwards like this, which I think is just crazy and a real testament to what life has to do out here to adapt to the harsh environment. After that awesome walk at Katajuda, we're back at Uluru to watch the sunset and have some cheese and crackers. And it's just beautiful. Back into the action this morning with a 6-kilometre circuit hike. We're at the top of Kings Canyon doing the rim walk. It was a really steep first 100 metres, but now that we're on top of the canyon with views down, it's just spectacular. Absolutely worth doing. You'd never guess from looking at it, but this rock is actually white. The red colour, of course, comes from iron, which over 400 million years has blown from the surrounding desert and been stuck to the rock face by a peculiar type of fungi that lives on iron and sand. Another example of nature's absurdity, creating this spectacular red colour. As well as red, there is so much green. Part of the walk takes you down into the canyon, where there's a little oasis and these cute Spinifex pigeons. I guess it's pretty isolated down here, so I can forgive them for not knowing that mohawks are out of fashion. Cool.
Jeez.
Do not stand too close to the edge. A lot of these cliffs have overhangs, and chunks bigger than houses can snap off and tumble down. This happens when the softer Carmichael sandstone underneath erodes more quickly than the hard Morini stuff on top. Erosion is also responsible for these super cool dome structures, reminiscent of the Bungle Bungles, where the sandstone has cracked and the wind has weathered away the sharp edges. Australia's big, beautiful red centre is just so immense and impressive. This definitely won't be my last time here. No, I'm just kidding, there's no drop off.